Captain Lee Hyun sat in his command chair aboard the UES Taekwondo, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. 3 months into their deep space patrol, and still nothing but empty void. The ship hummed quietly around him as his crew went about their duties. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park's son from the communication station. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Lee turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" Park's son frowned at her console, adjusting dials and pressing buttons. "It looks like a signal, sir, very weak, coming from the Kepler 442 system." "That's outside our patrol zone," said Commander Cho Min, looking up from his tactical station. "No human ships should be out there." Lee stood and walked over to Park's son's station. On her screen, a faint signal pulsed in patterns he had never seen before. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it, sir." Park's son's fingers danced over her controls. Slowly, the signal became clearer. But instead of human voices or computer codes, strange sounds filled the bridge, clicking noises, whistles, and what sounded like musical tones. "That's not human," whispered Chief Engineer Lim Do from the back of the bridge. Lee felt his heart skip a beat. In all of humanity's years exploring space, they had never found another intelligent species. "Get Dr. Kim Bo up here now." 5 minutes later, Dr. Kim Bo rushed onto the bridge. She was the ship's expert on languages and alien studies, though until now she had only studied theories. "You found something?" she asked, slightly out of breath. "Listen to this." Park's son played the signal again. Dr. Kim Bo's eyes went wide. She grabbed a headset and plugged it into the communications console. For 10 minutes, she listened in silence, taking notes on her tablet. Finally, she looked up with a pale face. "Captain, this is definitely from an alien species. The patterns are too complex to be natural, and there's mathematical structure in the signal." "Can you translate it?" Lee asked. "I can try, but it will take time. Maybe hours, maybe days." Dr. Kim Bo paused, looking worried. "But Captain, there's something else. The signal is getting weaker. Whatever is sending this, I think it's in trouble." Lee felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "What makes you say that?" "The pattern keeps repeating, but each time it gets shorter and more urgent. In human terms, it's like someone screaming for help and running out of breath." Commander Cho Min stepped closer. "Sir, if there's an intelligent alien species out there and they're in danger, we need to do something." Lee looked around his bridge. His crew of 35 had been together for 2 years. They were good people, brave people, but what they were talking about could change everything for humanity. "Dr. Kim Bo, how long to reach the Kepler 442 system?" 3 days at maximum warp, sir." Lee thought about Earth Command and their strict orders. They were supposed to patrol human space, not go chasing unknown signals into alien territory. But the weak, desperate sounds coming from the speakers made the decision easy. "Lieutenant Park's son, send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them we've detected what appears to be an alien distress signal, and we're responding under emergency protocols." "Yes, sir," Park's son said, already working on her console. "Commander Cho Min, plot a course for Kepler 442. Maximum warp." "Course. Plotted and ready, Captain." "Dr. Kim Bo, I want you to work on that translation. Use every computer on the ship if you have to." As the Taekwondo turned and jumped to warp speed, Dr. Kim Bo worked frantically in the ship's language lab. She fed the alien signal into every translation program humanity had ever created. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. After 12 hours, she had her first breakthrough. She ran to the bridge, where Lee was reviewing patrol reports. "Captain, I've got something." Lee immediately gave her his full attention. "What did you find?" "The signal is definitely a distress call. I can't translate all of it, but some concepts are clear. They're calling themselves something like Valari, and they're under attack." "Under attack by who?" Dr. Kim Bo's face was grim. "They call the attackers something that translates to those who take, or maybe harvesters. Captain, from what I can understand, this isn't just a raid or a small fight. They're talking about their whole world burning." The bridge fell silent. Medical Officer Han Sol, who had been quietly checking crew reports, spoke up. "Captain, if an entire alien civilization is under attack and we're the only ones close enough to help, I know what you're thinking, Lee said. But we're one ship. We don't even know what kind of weapons these harvesters have. Sir, Commander, Cho Min said quietly, if we don't try, we might be listening to the death of an entire species. Lee looked around his bridge again. Every face showed the same expression. Fear, yes, but also determination. This was why they had joined the space service. Not to patrol empty systems, but to explore and protect. Dr. Kimbo, can you send a message back to them? I think so, sir. The mathematical parts of their language are getting clearer. Send this. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have received your distress call. We are coming to help. Dr. Kimbo worked for 20 minutes converting the message into the alien language patterns. When she transmitted it, the response was immediate. The alien signal became stronger and more excited. What are they saying? Lee asked. I'm not sure about all of it, but I think they're asking why we would help strangers. And Captain... Doctor, Kimbo paused. I think they're crying. Lieutenant Jiang Yu looked up from the weapons console. Captain, I've been thinking. If these harvesters are attacking a whole planet, they probably have a lot of ships. Probably, Lee agreed. We have good shields and the best weapons Earth ever built, but we're still just one ship. Lee nodded. I know. But sometimes one ship is all you have. As the hours passed, Dr. Kimbo continued translating. The picture that emerged was terrifying. The Volari were peaceful traders who had never developed military technology. They had basic defense systems for protection against space debris and small pirates, but nothing that could fight a real war. The harvesters had appeared 3 days ago with a massive fleet. They weren't interested in conquest or negotiation. They were systematically destroying everything on the Volari homeworld and hunting down their ships. Captain, Dr. Kimbo said during her latest report, I don't think the Volari understand why anyone would help them. Their last message asked if we expected payment or territory. What did you tell them? I sent back a message saying we help because it's right. I don't think they understood. They will, Lee said quietly. 2 hours. Before they reached the Kepler 442 system, Park Sun received a response from Earth Command. Admiral Yang Jin's message was short and direct. Captain Lee, you are ordered to observe and report only. Do not engage unknown hostiles. Support fleet is being prepared. Lee read the message twice, then deleted it. Sir? Commander Cho Min asked. We're going in, Lee said. By the time Earth's support fleet gets here, there won't be any Volari left to save. As the Taekwondo dropped out of warp at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, the crew gasped at what they saw on the main screen. The Volari homeworld was a ball of fire and smoke. Dozens of massive black ships surrounded it, firing bright beams. Down at the surface, my God, whispered Medical Officer Han Sol's smaller Volari ships were fleeing in all directions, but the black harvester vessels were hunting them down one by one. As they watched, a Volari civilian transport exploded under enemy fire. Captain, Lieutenant Jiang Yu said from weapons, I count 57 harvester ships. They're each about twice our size. Lee looked at the destruction on the screen, then at his crew. 57 enemy ships against one human vessel. The smart thing would be to retreat and wait for the Earth fleet, but more Volari ships were dying every minute. Red alert, Lee ordered. All hands to battle stations. We're going. Admiral Yang Jin was having his morning coffee in his office at Earth Defense Command when the priority message arrived. He nearly dropped his cup when he read Captain Lee's report. First contact with an alien species, and they were under attack by unknown hostiles. Within minutes, Yang Jin was in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the position of every human ship in space. General Song Woo arrived next, still wearing his exercise uniform from the morning training session. How reliable is this, Captain Lee? General Song Woo asked, reading the report over Yang Jin's shoulder. Very. He's one of our best deep space commanders. If he says he found aliens, he found aliens. Yang Jin pulled up Lee's service record. 3 commendations, 2 years commanding the Taekwondo without a single serious incident. And now he's flying into a battle against 57 unknown ships to save people he's never met. Yang Jin smiled grimly. Sounds like something Lee would do. President Nari arrived 20 minutes later with the emergency cabinet. She read Captain Lee's message twice, then looked around the room at Earth's military leaders. Opinions? She asked simply. We need more information, said Defense Minister Park Jun. One report from one ship isn't enough to risk starting an interstellar war. By the time we get more information, these Valari could all be dead, General Yao, Song Wu countered. Captain Lee is risking his ship and crew to save complete strangers. That tells us what kind of people the Valari are dealing with. Admiral Yang Jin activated the main display, showing the positions of Earth's defense fleets. Madam President, we have 203 ships in active service. Most are scattered across the solar system on routine patrols. How long to assemble them? President Nari asked. If we recall everything? 4 days minimum. Too long. President Nari walked to the center of the room, looking at the star charts. Admiral, what's the largest force we can deploy immediately? Yang Jin worked quickly on his console. The home defense fleet is at full strength, 52 ships including the dreadnought Soul's Thunder. They could launch in 6 hours. That's not enough, General Song Wu said. If these harvesters have 57 ships attacking one planet, they probably have more somewhere else. President Nari was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up with the expression that had gotten her elected. Recall everything. Every ship, every crew member on leave, every vessel in the repair yards that can fly. Madam President, Defense Minister Park Jun said carefully, that would leave Earth completely undefended. No, Nari replied. It would leave Earth defended by the knowledge that we stand for something. Admiral Yang Jin, I want every ship we have heading for the Kepler 442 system within 24 hours. Yang Jin felt his heart pound. Ma'am, are you ordering a full military deployment to save an alien species we know nothing about? I'm ordering a full military deployment to save people who need saving. The fact that they're aliens just makes it more important. Within an hour, recall orders went out across the solar system. Captains on routine patrols turned their ships around and headed for Earth. Crews on shore leave were pulled back to duty. Ships in the repair yards were hastily patched and declared ready for combat. Fleet Admiral Kang Su received his orders while inspecting the Mars orbital stations. He read them 3 times before he believed them. Command of the largest military force in human history, with orders to save an alien species from extinction. Sir? Asked his aide, Captain Ote. Are we really going to war for aliens? Kang Su looked out at the red surface of Mars, remembering the rebellion 15 years ago. Humans killing humans over mining rights and colonial independence. Now, they were about to risk everything for complete strangers. Captain Ote, prep the Soul's Thunder for immediate departure, and send word to all fleet commanders. We're not going to war for aliens. We're going to war for the right thing. Dr. Yubin was in her laboratory studying Mars bacteria when the call came. She was needed for the largest first contact mission in human history. Within 2 hours, she was aboard Admiral Kang Su's flagship, setting up a xenobiology lab. Doctor, Admiral Kang Su said as she worked, what can you tell us about making contact with a species under attack? Dr. Yubin paused in her equipment. Setup. Admiral, first contact protocols assume peaceful meetings in neutral space. What we're doing has never been tried before. Any advice? Don't shoot the people you're trying to save. The assembly of Earth's fleet was organized chaos. Supply. Ships raced between vessels, loading ammunition and provisions for a mission of unknown length. The orbital shipyards worked around the clock to complete repairs on damaged vessels. Captain Beijun commanded the assault carrier Incheon, one of Earth's newest ships. He watched through his bridge windows as the fleet gathered. 200 warships. From small destroyers to massive dreadnoughts, all preparing to fight for people they had never seen. Captain, his communications officer reported, we're receiving volunteers from the merchant fleet. Cargo ships want to join the mission, to carry supplies. How many? 300 and counting, sir. Beijun shook his head in amazement. Earth's entire space community was mobilizing for strangers. Commander Park A stood on the bridge of her destroyer, the Busan Runner. watching the fleet communications. Every captain was reporting ready for departure ahead of schedule. Ships that normally took days to prepare for missions were launching in hours. "Commander," her tactical officer said, "the crew efficiency reports are unbelievable. Everyone's working triple shifts without complaints." "They know what this means," Parquet replied. "This is the day humanity decides what kind of species we are." Wing Commander An B led the fighter squadrons from the carrier Jeju Storm. She had fought in the asteroid wars and thought she had seen everything. But watching 1,000 fighter pilots volunteer for a mission to save aliens was something new. "Wing Commander," her squadron leaders reported, "all pilots are requesting combat loads. Maximum weapons, minimum fuel. They want to hit hard and fast. Approved. We're going to show these harvesters what human pilots can do." The final fleet assembly took place in orbit around Earth. Admiral Yang Jin watched from the command center as ship after ship reported ready. 203 warships, 300 supply vessels, and 50,000 of humanity's best military personnel. Fleet Admiral Kang Su's voice came over the fleet communication system from his flagship. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang. Su, in 1 hour, we depart for the Kepler 442 system to assist the alien species known as the Valari against hostile forces called the Harvesters." He paused, looking out at the massive fleet surrounding his ship. "Some of you may be wondering why we're risking everything for strangers. The answer is simple. Because someone has to. Because in a universe that might be full of horrors, someone needs to stand up and say no." Colonel Shinda, commanding the fleet's marine contingent, listened to the admiral's speech from the troop ship Gwangju Pride. Around him, 2,000 Marines checked their equipment and prepared for the unknown. "Colonel," Sergeant Komin asked, "what do we know about fighting aliens?" "Nothing," Shinda replied honestly. "But we know about fighting for what's right. That'll have to be enough." As the fleet prepared to jump to warp, Dr. Kim Bo's latest transmission arrived from the Taekwondo. The Valari homeworld was under massive attack. Captain Lee was engaging the enemy with his single ship. Fleet Admiral Kang Su read the message, then opened the fleet communication channel again. "All ships maximum warp. We have people to save." The largest military force in human history jumped to warp speed, racing across space to fight for the survival of a species they had never met. Behind them, Earth's orbital stations fell silent. For the first time in decades, President Nari stood in the observation deck of the Luna Command Center, watching the last ships disappear into warp. Defense Minister Park Jun joined her, looking worried. "Madam President, if we're wrong about this, if it's a trap or a misunderstanding, we've just sent our entire military into unknown space." Nari didn't take her eyes off the stars. "Minister, Park Jun, 20 years ago I was a refugee from the climate wars. A stranger in a foreign country speaking a language I barely knew. And people helped me anyway. Not because they knew me, not because I could pay them back, but because it was right." She turned to face him. "Today, humanity grows up. Today we become the kind of species that helps strangers simply because they need help. Whatever happens next, we'll face it knowing we did the right thing." In the depths of space, Fleet Admiral Kang Su's Armada raced toward an unknown enemy. Behind them, Earth waited in silence. Ahead of them, Captain Lee and the crew of the Taekwondo fought alone against impossible odds, but not for much longer. The UES Taekwondo dropped out of warp at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, and Captain Lee Hyun immediately understood why the Valari were screaming for help. The scene before them was pure destruction. The Valari homeworld burned like a dying ember in the darkness of space. Massive black ships, each twice the size of the Taekwondo, surrounded the planet in a perfect formation. Bright energy beams lanced down from the alien vessels, turning cities into glass and fire. "Captain," Lieutenant Zhang Yu reported from the weapons station, his voice tight with shock. "I'm reading 57 hostile ships. They're systematically destroying everything on the planet's surface." "What about Valari ships, Commander?" Chomin asked. "Scattered across the system, sir. Most are civilian transports trying to escape. The harvesters are hunting them down one by one." As if to prove his point, a bright flash lit up the main screen. A small Volari ship no bigger than a human shuttle exploded under fire from 3 harvester vessels. Bastards, whispered Chief Engineer Lim Do Lee. Watched another Volari ship die and made his decision. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Helm, take us in. Sir, Commander Cho Min said carefully. We're outnumbered 57-1. I can count, Commander. Weapons, target the harvester ship attacking that civilian convoy at grid 7-4. Lieutenant Zhang Yu's hands flew over his console. Locked on, sir. Railgun charged and ready. Fire. The Taekwondo's main railgun spoke with the voice of human engineering. The magnetic projectile crossed the distance in seconds, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It hit the harvester ship's shields and punched through them like they were paper. The alien vessel split in half, its pieces spinning away into the void. Direct hit, Zhang Yu shouted. Target destroyed. The bridge crew cheered, but their celebration was short-lived. Every harvester ship in the system immediately changed course, turning toward the human vessel. Well, Lee said quietly, now we have their attention. The harvester response was swift and overwhelming. 20 ships broke off from the planet bombardment and accelerated toward the Taekwondo. Their weapons were unlike anything in human experience. Not energy beams or projectiles, but some kind of dark matter manipulation that seemed to bend space itself. Incoming fire, Commander Cho Min called out. Multiple contacts. Evasive maneuvers, Lee ordered. Chief Engineer Lim Do, I need everything the engines can give me. The Taekwondo danced through space as harvester weapons fire bracketed their position. The human ship's advantages quickly became clear. It was smaller and faster than the alien. Vessels built for the rapid combat maneuvers needed in Earth's crowded orbital space. They're big and slow, Commander Cho Min observed, analyzing the enemy movement patterns. But Captain, look at what they're doing to the planet. On the screen, the dark beams from the harvester ships weren't just destroying cities. They seemed to be extracting something, pulling streams of energy up from the planet's surface into the alien vessels. Dr. Kim Bo, Lee called over the communication system. Get up here. I need to know what those ships are doing. Dr. Kim Bo arrived on the bridge just as the Taekwondo fired its second shot, destroying another harvester vessel. She immediately began analyzing the enemy weapons with her scientific equipment. Captain, she said after a few minutes, those aren't just weapons. They're extracting something from the planet, energy, matter, maybe even biological material. I think they're harvesting the planet itself. The implications hit everyone on the bridge at once. This wasn't conquest or even genocide. This was consumption on a planetary scale. Sir, Park Sun called from communications. I'm receiving a signal from one of the Volari ships. Put it through. The alien voice was translated by Dr. Kim Bo's computer, speaking in halting but understandable human language. Human ship, why do you fight? Why do you die for strangers? Lee grabbed the communication microphone. This is Captain Lee Hyun of the human vessel Taekwondo. We received your distress call. We're here to help. There was a long pause. When the alien voice returned, it sounded confused and amazed. You came? Across the stars? For people you do not know? Yes, Lee said simply. But why? We cannot pay you. We have no territory to give. We are nothing to you. Lee looked around his bridge at his crew, who were fighting and dying to save, complete strangers. Because no one should die alone. The Volari ship, Dr. Kim Bo's translation said its name was something like Windsinger, and its captain was called Veltar, moved closer to the Taekwondo. On the screen, Lee could see it was damaged, with fires burning inside its transparent sections. Captain Veltar, Lee said, can you tell us anything about these harvester weapons? We need to know how to fight them. Fight them? Veltar's voice was full of despair. Captain Lee, you cannot fight them. They have destroyed 17 worlds. They consume everything. Your ship, brave as it is, cannot stand against so many. Maybe not, Lee agreed, dodging another salvo of harvester fire. But we can try. The running battle continued for 2 hours. The Taekwondo used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and hard before moving to a new position. Human weapons proved devastatingly effective against harvester ships, but there were simply too many enemies. "Captain," Medical Officer Hansel reported, "I've got wounded coming in from the Valari ships we've rescued. These beings are unlike anything we've ever seen. Can you treat them?" "I'm trying." Dr. Kimbo is helping with the translation. "They're grateful, Captain. They can't understand why we're helping them, but they're grateful." The battle took a turn for the worse when the harvesters changed tactics. Instead of trying to destroy the Taekwondo with overwhelming firepower, they began using their harvesting beams on the space around the human ship. "What are they doing?" Lee asked as space itself seemed to twist around them. Commander Cho Min studied his sensors frantically. "Sir, they're extracting energy directly from our shields. If they keep this up, our defenses will collapse in minutes." "Then we'd better make those minutes count. Weapons. Target the largest harvester ship. Full power." "Sir, that's their command." "Vessel, it's 5 times our size." "I don't care if it's the size of a moon. Fire everything we have." The Taekwondo unleashed its full arsenal. Railguns, plasma cannons, nuclear torpedoes, everything humanity had learned about warfare in 4 centuries of conflict. The barrage struck the harvester command ship and bounced off its shields without effect. "No damage, sir," Jiang Yu reported grimly. The command ship turned toward them, its massive harvesting beam charging to full power. On the screen, Lee could see into the alien vessel's interior through transparent sections. The sight made his blood run cold. Inside the ship were rows upon rows of containers holding what looked like liquid energy. And floating in that energy were the shapes of creatures not Valari but beings from other species entirely. "My God," Dr. Kimbo whispered. "Captain, I don't think the Valari are their first victims. I think they've been doing this for a very long time." The massive harvesting beam fired and the Taekwondo's shields began to collapse. Alarms screamed throughout the ship as systems overloaded and failed. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Chief Engineer Limdo reported. "Main power down to 30%. Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was still at their stations, still fighting, even though they all knew they were about to die. These were good people, brave people, and they deserved better than to die in empty space fighting impossible odds. But they had saved 7 Valari ships and over 300 alien civilians. If that was all they could do, it was still something. "All hands," Lee announced over the ship's communication system. "It has been an honor serving with you." The Harvester command ship's main weapon charged for the killing blow, and then space exploded with light. Hundreds of new contacts appeared on the sensors, dropping out of warp in perfect formation. Human ships, more than Lee had ever seen in one place. At their head was the massive dreadnought Sol's Thunder, its hull scarred. From a dozen battles, Fleet Admiral Kang Su's voice came over the communication system, calm and professional. "Captain Lee, this is Admiral Kang Su with the Earth Defense Fleet. Sorry we're late. Please stand clear for fleet engagement." Lee looked at his tactical display and couldn't believe what he was seeing. 200 human warships in battle formation, their weapons already charging. "Fleet Admiral," Lee said, his voice shaking slightly. "Am I seeing this correctly? Did Earth send the entire fleet?" "Every ship we have, Captain. Every sailor who could hold a weapon. Now let's show these harvesters what happens when they threaten innocent people." The largest space battle in human history was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Kang Su watched the tactical display from the bridge of the Sol's Thunder as his armada dropped out of warp. 200 human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons already powered and targeting. Systems locked onto the Harvester fleet. "Admiral," reported Captain Ote from the tactical station. "All ships are in position and ready for engagement. The Taekwondo appears to have taken heavy damage but is still operational." Kang Su nodded, studying the battle zone. The Harvester ships had been caught completely off guard by the arrival of Earth's fleet. For several seconds, the alien vessels simply hung in space as if their crews couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Communications, open a channel to all ships," Kang Su ordered. "All vessels, this is Admiral Kang Su. We are here to stop the destruction of an innocent world and protect civilian populations. Engage at will." The response from the human fleet was immediate and devastating. Every ship opened fire at once, creating a wall of destruction that raced across space toward the Harvester formation. Captain Bei Jun commanded the assault carrier Incheon from the fleet's left flank. As the main guns fired, he launched his fighter squadrons. Wing Commander An-bi, you are clear for launch. Show them what human pilots can do. An-bi's voice crackled over the communication system from her fighter. Copy that, Captain. All squadrons, weapons free. Let's go save some aliens. 1,000 human fighters swarmed out of their carriers like angry bees, their pilots trained in the brutal combat schools of Earth's military academies. They had learned to fight in asteroid fields, around gas giants, and in the crowded orbital space of humanity's home system. The Harvesters had never faced anything like them. Commander Park A led her destroyer squadron in a high-speed attack run against the Harvester left flank. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, each vessel covering its neighbors while unleashing focused fire on enemy targets. Target the big one, she ordered her weapons officer. Full spread of plasma torpedoes, the destroyer Busan runners. Torpedoes struck a Harvester cruiser amidships, punching through its shields and exploding deep inside its hull. The alien ship split in half, its sections spinning away into the void, but the Harvesters quickly recovered from their initial shock. These beings had destroyed 17 worlds and conquered countless species. They had never retreated from a battle. The alien fleet reformed into attack formations and returned fire with their harvesting weapons. The dark beams reached out toward human ships, trying to drain their energy and shields. Interesting, observed Dr. Yubin from her position on the Seoul's Thunder's bridge. Admiral, their weapons don't seem to be working properly on our ships. What do you mean? Kang Su asked. Our shield technology is different from what they've encountered before. They're designed to stop kinetic impacts and energy weapons, not matter extraction. It's like they're trying to drain water with a spoon. Designed for soup. The Admiral smiled grimly. Good. Tactical. Focus fire on their command ships. If we can disrupt their coordination, the smaller vessels will be easier targets. Captain Ote coordinated the attack from his position at the tactical station. Human military doctrine had been developed through centuries of warfare against other humans, opponents who were clever, adaptable, and dangerous. The tactics that had proven successful against Earth's most skilled military minds were devastating against the Harvesters. All heavy cruisers concentrate fire on Grid 77. Destroyers provide screening fire. Fighters maintain close support for the capital ships. The battle raged across the entire star system. Human ships used the gravitational effects of planets and moons to slingshot into attack positions, while their fighters conducted intricate maneuvers that confused and overwhelmed Harvester point defenses. Wing Commander An-bi led her squadron through a gap in the enemy formation, her fighters weaving between Harvester ships like birds through a forest. Her pilots had trained for this kind of combat their entire careers. High-speed, close-quarters fighting where reflexes and skill mattered more than raw firepower. Blue Squadron target their weapon arrays. Red Squadron hit their engines. Gold Squadron, with me. We're going for their bridge. The fighters swarmed over a Harvester heavy cruiser like insects, their small but precise weapons targeting critical systems. Within minutes, the alien ship was crippled, its main guns silent and its engines dead. But the real shock for the Harvesters came when they deployed their secret weapon, the fear projectors. These devices had never failed before. Every species the Harvesters had encountered possessed the same basic survival instinct. When faced with overwhelming terror, they fled or surrendered. The fear projectors created psychic waves of pure dread, paralyzing entire enemy fleets. The weapons activated, sending waves of terror across the battlefield toward the human ships. And absolutely nothing happened. Admiral, Dr. Yubin reported with fascination, their fear weapons are having no effect on our crews. None at all, Kang Su asked. Completely ineffective. It's as if they're designed for a completely different type of mind. What the Harvesters didn't understand was that humans came from a death world. Every person in the fleet had grown up on a planet that had tried to kill them in 1,000 different ways. They had faced hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, plagues, predators, and the constant threat of their own species' violence. Fear was an old friend to humanity, not a paralyzing enemy. Colonel Shin Da, commanding the fleet's marine contingent, from the troop transport Gwangju Pride, watched the battle from his ship's observation deck. His Marines were ready for boarding actions if needed, but the space battle was going better than anyone had hoped. Colonel, Sergeant Ko Min reported, the Admiral is requesting volunteers for a special mission. What kind of special mission? Boarding parties, sir. They want to capture a harvester ship intact to learn more about their technology. Shinda grinned. Tell the Admiral he's got his volunteers. Captain Lee Hyun watched the battle from the damaged bridge of the Taekwondo. His ship was too damaged to join the main fight, but they were still rescuing Valari civilians from destroyed ships. Captain, Dr. Kim Bo called from her station. I'm receiving signals from Veltar and the other Valari captains. They can't believe what they're seeing. What are they saying? They're asking if all human ships are this powerful and if all humans fight like this. I think they're having trouble understanding how we can be so effective in combat. Medical Officer Han Sol looked up from treating wounded Valari civilians. Captain, these beings have never seen military action like this. Their entire species is peaceful traders and explorers. They don't have armies or navies in any sense we would understand. The tide of battle was clearly turning in humanity's favor. Harvester ships were being destroyed faster than they could respond to the human attacks. But Admiral Kang Soo noticed something troubling on the tactical displays. Captain O Tae, he said, are you seeing what I'm seeing in Sector 4? Yes, sir. Several harvester ships are moving away from the battle toward that asteroid field. They're not retreating, they're regrouping. And look at what they're doing. The harvesters in the asteroid field were using their harvesting beams on the space rocks, extracting raw materials and energy. As they worked, new ships began to form around them, constructed from the harvested matter in real time. They're building reinforcements, Captain Otai said grimly. Not if we stop them first. All ships, new priority target. Take out those constructor ships before they can finish building. The human fleet turned toward the asteroid field, but they were too late. Dozens of new harvester vessels were already taking shape, their hulls forming from extracted asteroid material. Admiral, Captain Beijun reported from the Incheon, we're looking at enemy reinforcements that could double their fleet size. Kang Soo studied the tactical situation. Even with their technological advantages, facing 100 harvester ships would be difficult, and who knew how many more they could construct if given time. All ships, maximum attack speed. We need to stop those constructors before they complete their work. But as the human fleet raced toward the asteroid field, something unexpected happened. The remaining harvester combat ships moved to intercept them, not to protect their constructors, but to buy them time. The aliens were sacrificing their existing forces to ensure their reinforcements could be completed. They're not just warriors, Dr. Yu Bin observed. They're thinking strategically. This is a species that has conquered 17 worlds by being adaptable and intelligent. The battle entered a new phase as human ships engaged the harvester, sacrificial force while racing to reach the constructors. It was a deadly game of time and distance, with the fate of the Valari civilization hanging in the balance. And in the depths of space, larger harvester forces were beginning to respond to the distress calls from the Kepler 442 system. Waiting for him was the Harvester Prime, a creature that had absorbed the combat skills and knowledge of 17 different. Dr. Kim Bo stood in the science lab of the UES Taekwondo, staring at the samples that would change everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. The pieces of harvester technology and biological material that Captain Lee's crew had collected during the battle looked innocent enough. Bits of metal, strange organic compounds, and data crystals that pulsed with their own inner light. But what they contained was pure horror. Captain, she called over the communication system, you need to see this immediately. Captain Lee Hyun arrived in the lab within minutes, still wearing his damaged uniform from the bridge. The battle was going well. Admiral Kang Soo's fleet was systematically destroying the harvester forces, but Dr. Kim Bo's voice had carried an urgency that made his blood run cold. What did you find? He asked. Dr. Kim Bo activated a holographic Display showing the internal structure of a harvester data crystal. Captain, this isn't just technology, it's a library. A genetic and memory storage system containing information about every species the harvesters have ever encountered. She pressed another button, and images filled the air around them. Dozens of different alien species, some humanoid, others completely unlike anything in Earth's experience. All of them were extinct. 17 different civilizations, Dr. Kim Bo continued, her voice shaking. The harvesters didn't just destroy them, Captain, they consumed them. Every genetic pattern, every memory, every piece of cultural knowledge, it's all stored in these crystals. Lee felt sick as he watched the holographic records. Peaceful traders like the Valari, aquatic beings from ocean worlds, crystalline entities, that thought in mathematical concepts, all of them gone, existing now only as data in harvester storage systems. There's more, Dr. Kimbo said grimly. The harvesters aren't just destroying civilizations for territory or resources, they're evolving. Each species they consume makes them stronger, more adaptable. Look at this. The hologram showed the progression of harvester technology over time. With each conquered world, their ships became more advanced, their weapons more deadly, their tactics more sophisticated. They're not just killers, Lee realized. They're parasites. They feed on other civilizations' achievements and use them to become more effective predators. Dr. Kimbo nodded. Captain, if they had found Earth first instead of the Valari, Lee didn't need her to finish the sentence. Humanity would have been just another entry in the harvester database, their technology and knowledge absorbed and used to destroy the next species in line. Across the system, Captain Yu Mi was making her own discoveries aboard the science vessel UES Sejong. Her ship had captured a damaged harvester vessel, and the boarding party led by Colonel Shin Da was exploring its interior. This is impossible, Corporal Ryu Ho reported over the communication system. Captain, you need to see what we found in their biolabs. Captain Yumi watched through the Marine's helmet camera as he moved through the harvester ship's interior. The walls were organic, pulsing with a sick rhythm like a giant heart. But worse were the containers lining the corridors. Each one held a creature in suspended animation, beings from the 17 conquered worlds, kept alive for experimentation and genetic harvesting. My God, Yumi whispered. They're not just storing genetic information, they're keeping living specimens. Colonel Shinda's voice was tight with controlled anger. Captain, we've got survivors down here. Beings from at least 6 different species. They've been prisoners for decades, maybe centuries. The discovery changed everything. This wasn't just genocide. It was systematic torture and experimentation on a scale that dwarfed humanity's worst nightmares. Fleet Admiral Kang Su received the reports from both ships while coordinating the final phase of the battle. The last, harvester combat vessels were being destroyed, but the knowledge of what these creatures had done filled him with cold fury. Admiral, Captain Ote reported, we're receiving a priority transmission from one of the captured harvester ships. Put it through. The voice that emerged from the speakers was translated by the ship's computers, but even through the mechanical translation, its arrogance was clear. Human commander, you have interfered with a harvest that has been in progress for cycles beyond your understanding. Withdraw now and your species will be granted a swift extinction when we arrive at your world. Kang Su's response was calm and deadly. This is Fleet Admiral Kang Su of the Human Defense Force. You are guilty of genocide against 17 innocent civilizations. Surrender now, and you will be given a fair trial before your execution. The alien laughed, a sound like grinding. Metal. You understand nothing, humans. We are the Void Render Collective. We have consumed the knowledge of 17 worlds. Your primitive weapons cannot stand against accumulated millennia of stolen advancement. We'll see about that, Kang Su replied, cutting the transmission. But the Admiral's confidence was shaken when Dr. Yu Bin presented her analysis of the harvester technology. The aliens weren't lying about their accumulated advantages. Admiral, their ships contained technology from all 17 conquered civilizations. Defensive systems from warrior species, weapons from aggressive cultures, manufacturing techniques from industrial societies. Each harvester vessel is essentially 17 different technological traditions combined into one platform. But we're still winning the battle, Captain Ote pointed out, because we caught them by surprise and because they've never encountered Deathworld tactics before. But Admiral, if they had time to analyze our fighting methods and adapt their technology accordingly, Dr. Yubin didn't need to finish. The harvesters had survived for millennia by being adaptable. Given enough time, they would learn to counter human advantages and use humanity's own innovations against them. That's when Captain Yumi made the discovery that would determine the course of the entire war. Deep in the captured harvester vessel, her science team found what they were looking for: the ship's navigation system and communication logs. The data they contained was terrifying. Fleet Admiral, Yumi reported, the harvesters operate from a mobile command structure called the Void Render. It's not just a ship, it's a massive biomechanical construct that serves as their central processing facility. How massive? Kang Su asked. Approximately 50 kilometers long, Admiral. It contains the genetic templates and memory engrams of all 17 conquered civilizations. More importantly, it houses the Harvester's Central Intelligence Network. Dr. Kim Bo had joined the discussion from the Taekwondo. Admiral, if we could destroy that central facility, it would cripple their ability to coordinate future attacks. All of their accumulated knowledge would be lost. Where is this Void Render located? Kang Su asked. Captain Yumi's voice was grim. According to their navigation logs, it's 3 days away at maximum warp. And Admiral, it's not alone. Our attack here has triggered an automatic distress signal. The main harvester fleet is already moving toward this system. The tactical situation became clear immediately. Humanity had won this battle, but they had also announced their existence to the most dangerous predator species in the galaxy. The harvesters would not make the mistake of underestimating humans twice. How many ships in their main fleet? Admiral, Kang Su asked. Over 3,000, sir. And that's just what we can identify from the communication logs. The Void Render itself is protected by vessels incorporating the military technology of multiple warrior species. The human fleet had destroyed fewer than 100 harvester ships and was already celebrating victory, but they had awakened something far worse. Colonel Shinda's voice came over the communication system from the captured harvester ship. Admiral, we've rescued 43 alien survivors from 17 different species. They're badly traumatized, but they're providing intelligence about harvester operations. What are they telling you, Colonel? Sir, the harvesters don't just attack randomly. They specifically target young civilizations that haven't developed advanced military technology. They've been watching human space for decades, waiting for us to expand enough to be worth harvesting. The implications hit everyone at once. Earth wasn't safe. Humanity's colonies weren't safe. The harvesters had been planning their attack for years, studying human defenses and waiting for the right moment to strike. Admiral, Dr. Kimbo transmitted from the Taekwondo, I've been analyzing the rescued aliens' testimonies. The harvesters always follow the same pattern. They attack the homeworld first, then systematically hunt down all colonies and outposts. No survivors, no escapes. Fleet Admiral Kang Su looked at the tactical display showing his fleet's positions. 200 ships had seemed like an overwhelming force when they left Earth. Now, facing the reality of a 3,000-ship harvester armada, they seemed pitifully small. But as he studied the data about the Void Render, a desperate plan began to form in his mind. All ship commanders, this is Admiral Kang Su. Prepare for an emergency fleet conference. We need to discuss our next move. The human fleet had saved the Valerii from extinction, but in doing so, they had doomed their own species, unless they could accomplish the impossible, destroy the Void Render and its massive fleet before it could reach Earth. The real war was just beginning. Fleet Admiral Kang Su stood before the holographic conference table, surrounded by the images of his ship commanders. The emergency meeting included every captain in the fleet, from battleship commanders to fighter squadron leaders. The weight of what they were about to attempt showed on every face. Ladies and gentlemen, Kang Su began, our reconnaissance teams have located the Void Render. It's exactly where the captured intelligence said it would be, 3 days away at maximum warp. protected by over 3,000 harvester vessels. Captain Bei Jun from the assault carrier Incheon spoke first. "Admiral, with respect, we have 200 ships. Even with our technological advantages, those odds are impossible." "Normally, I would agree," Kang-soo replied, "but we're not facing a normal tactical situation." "Dr. Kim Bo, please share your analysis." Dr. Kim Bo's hologram activated from the Taekwondo. "Commanders, the Void Render isn't just a command ship. It's the central processing unit for the entire Harvester civilization. Every bit of stolen knowledge, every genetic template, every memory, from 17 conquered worlds, it's all stored in that one location. A single point of failure," realized Captain Yumi from the science vessel Sejong. "Exactly. If we can destroy the Void Render, we eliminate not just their command structure, but their entire accumulated advantage. Without access to stolen technology and knowledge, the remaining Harvester ships become much less dangerous." Colonel Shin Da joined the discussion from his position aboard the troop transport Gwangju Pride. "Admiral, I've been studying the ship, layouts we captured. The Void Render has massive defensive systems, but it also has a weakness. Its biomechanical nature means it needs to maintain biological functions. There are areas that can't be heavily armored without killing the organic components. You're proposing a boarding action," Admiral Kang-soo said, "against a 50-kilometer ship protected by 3,000 hostile vessels. Sir, it's the only way. Our ships can't generate enough firepower to destroy something that size through conventional bombardment. But a strike team could plant charges in the biological control centers." Wing Commander An Bi's image flickered as she adjusted her position in her fighter's cockpit. "Admiral, my pilots can get the boarding teams through their defenses. We've been analyzing their fighter tactics. They're adapted for fighting peaceful species, not Deathworld pilots." The plan that emerged from the conference was audacious even by human standards. The main fleet would engage the Harvester defensive forces in a frontal assault, drawing attention away from the Void Render. Meanwhile, a strike force led by Colonel Shin Da would use stealth ships to approach the massive bioship and conduct a boarding operation. "The timing has to be perfect," Admiral Kang-soo emphasized. "We get one chance at this. If we fail, not only do we lose the war, but Earth becomes defenseless against the largest Harvester fleet in their history." Captain Lee Hyun spoke from the Taekwondo's bridge. "Admiral, request permission to join the assault force. My ship is too damaged for fleet combat, but we can still carry troops." "Denied, Captain. Your crew has done enough. You've saved the Valari and given us the intelligence we needed. That's more than enough for one mission." But Captain Lee's crew had other ideas. Over the next few hours, as the fleet prepared for the attack, volunteers came forward from every ship. Engineers who wanted to help plant the charges, medics who could treat wounded in the hostile environment of the Void Render. Even Dr. Kim Bo requested permission to join the boarding party. "Doctor," Colonel Shin Da said during their planning session, "this is going to be the most dangerous military operation in human history. We're talking about fighting through 50 kilometers of hostile territory populated by creatures engineered from 17 different species' worst nightmares. Colonel, I've spent my career studying alien civilizations. If there's any chance to save the knowledge and culture of the 17 extinct species stored in that ship, I have to try." The final assault began with the human fleet dropping out of warp at the edge of the Harvester staging area. The sight that greeted them was beyond anything they had imagined. The Void Render hung in space like a monstrous cathedral, its biomechanical surface pulsing with veins of energy. Around it, Harvester ships formed defensive formations in perfect geometric patterns. But these weren't the same vessels they had fought at the Valari homeworld. "Admiral," Captain Ote reported from the Soul's Thunder, "those ships have been modified. They're incorporating technology we've never seen before. Dr. Yubin's analysis confirmed their worst fears. They've been analyzing our tactics from the first battle. Every ship in that fleet has been adapted to counter human fighting methods. The Harvesters had learned. All ships commence attack, Admiral Kang-soo ordered. Remember, our job is to draw their attention. Make them think this is a conventional assault. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railguns, plasma cannons, nuclear missiles. The combined firepower of Earth's entire military struck the Harvester defensive line like a hammer blow. But this time, the Harvesters were ready. Their defensive systems had been modified to counter kinetic weapons. Their formation tactics had been adapted to neutralize human maneuverability advantages. Ships that had been easy targets in the first battle now fought with coordinated precision. "They're using our own tactics against us," observed Commander Park A from her destroyer. "These formations are based on human naval doctrine." Captain Bei Jun launched his fighters from the Incheon, but even Wing Commander An B's pilots faced unexpected resistance. The Harvester interceptors now moved with purpose and skill, using maneuvers clearly copied from human combat recordings. "Admiral," An B reported, "they're flying like us. Same attack patterns, same defensive techniques. It's like fighting mirrors of ourselves." But the battle was serving its purpose. While the main fleets engaged in brutal combat, Colonel Shin Da's strike force approached the Void Render using stealth technology adapted from asteroid miners and deep space explorers. The boarding party consisted of 200 Marines, 50 engineers, and 30 scientists, including Dr. Kim Bo. They rode in modified cargo ships designed to look like space debris, approaching the massive bioship through its defensive blind spots. "Remember," Colonel Shinda briefed his teams over the communication system, "we have maybe 30 minutes before the Harvesters realize what we're doing. Get to the biological control centers, plant the charges, and get out." The surface of the Void Render was unlike anything human soldiers had ever encountered. It wasn't metal or composite materials, but something that seemed to be alive. The hull pulsed with organic rhythms, and the entry points were more like wounds than airlocks. Sergeant Ko Min led the first squad through a breach in the ship's organic hull. "Sir, this place it's breathing. The whole ship is alive." The interior of the Void Render was a nightmare landscape of organic corridors and biomechanical systems. The walls were made of what looked like living tissue, supported by metallic structures that seemed to have grown rather than been built. But worse were the Guardians. The Harvesters had created defensive creatures using genetic material from all 17 conquered civilizations. Warriors with the strength of one species, the agility of another, and the intelligence of a third. Each Guardian was perfectly adapted for combat in the ship's organic environment. Corporal Ryu Ho's squad encountered the first Guardian in what looked like a circulatory chamber. The creature was 3 meters tall with armored skin like living metal and multiple arms ending in razor-sharp claws. "Contact!" Ryu Ho shouted, opening fire with his plasma rifle. The weapon that had been devastatingly effective against Harvester technology barely scratched the Guardian's hide. The creature moved with impossible speed, covering 10 meters in a single leap. But humans had advantages that no amount of genetic engineering could duplicate. Ryu Ho's squad had trained for close-quarters combat in hostile environments. They used tactics developed in Earth's urban warfare schools and asteroid mining operations. "Flamethrowers," Ryu Ho ordered. "Hit the organic components." The Guardian screamed as human fire weapons burned through its biomechanical systems. It had been engineered to fight with claws and energy weapons, not to resist simple combustion. Throughout the ship, similar battles raged as human teams pushed deeper into the Void Render's interior. The Marines used explosives to clear biomechanical blockades. Engineers employed industrial cutting tools to bypass organic security systems. Dr. Kim Bo reached the ship's Central Intelligence Core with a small team of scientists and Marines. What she found there was both wonderful and terrible. The core was a massive chamber filled with organic computers that stretched up into darkness. Each biomechanical system contained the compressed knowledge and memories of an entire extinct civilization. "We can save them," she whispered in amazement. "All of them. Their art, their science, their culture. It's all here." But there wasn't time for a rescue operation. The charges had to be planted, and Colonel Shinda's voice over the communication system was urgent. "All teams, plant your charges and prepare for extraction. The main fleet can't hold them much longer." The final battle came when Colonel Shinda reached the Void Render's primary control center.